What is it with the left's increasingly craven attempts to introduce laws about what we wear and how we choose to live our life? The country's virtue signaller-in-chief, London's failed mayor, Sadiq Khan, is today demanding the country give him the power to make not wearing a mask on public transport illegal. Having travelled on the tube every day from my home in East London to our studio here in West London, I can tell Mr. Khan there would be a hell of a lot of criminals, because on many journeys up to half the carriage have chosen to ride unmuzzled, as they're legally allowed to do. Given the crime epidemic in lawless London, where muggings, stabbings and burglaries are routinely ignored by law enforcement, it astonishes me that he thinks policing a pointless and political mask mandate would be the best use of police time. Such a demand is also scantily supported by facts, as Dr. Colin Axon, a top academic and professor in mechanical engineering who has actually previously advised the government on ventilation. And he recently told me here on Tonight Live, there is very little to suggest face coverings prevent the spread of COVID. In fact, in his words, these coverings a little more than comfort blankets. As he explained so sensibly, non-medical masks actually have gaps that are invisible to the naked eye, but at least 1,000 times the size of viral COVID particles. But Khan wants to follow the lead of Democrats in the US, where mask use is a sign that you must be a wonderful person, a great human being, if you wear that mask. And that's why I'm regularly treated to the ludicrous sight of woke warriors wearing masks while driving the car on their own or on a run outside. Sadiq Khan is actually now using masks to try and stoke division. We are meant to live in a free society in London and the UK. That's why women are allowed to walk around in burkas or bikinis, depending on their personal beliefs. The same must go for masks. There is now a full-blown migrant crisis on the channel, which both the government and mainstream broadcast media want to pretend isn't posing a grave national security risk to the UK. The official figure yesterday was 482 arrivals, a new record taking the total to over 10,000. And remember, they're only the arrivals we actually know about. The Home Secretary, Priti Patel, who I do have a lot of time for, has been speaking tough, but it's now obvious dramatic action is needed. Dan O'Mahony, the Home Office's clandestine channel threat commander, said there is an unacceptable rise in dangerous small boat crossings across the channel because of a surge in illegal migration across Europe. We have signed a strengthened agreement with our French counterparts to increase police patrols on French beaches and enhance intelligence sharing. I'm sorry, that's no longer good enough. The French do not want to help. Get that through your head. So we must take matters into our own hands. Today, the Prime Minister had this to say about going on holiday.
That I know how important holidays are to people. People think about them, they save up for them. People yearn to go abroad this year. I totally get that.
But his government's actions not backing that up. Flights out of the newly red-listed Mexico before the deadline on Sunday have soared to £7,000 as folk desperately attempt to avoid enforced quarantine in one of those revolting London hotel rooms that cost £2,285 per adult. Surely it would be reasonable for people already in a country with a return ticket to avoid quarantine if they test negative. And what about this PCR test sham for everyone arriving from even those countries on the green and amber list? As the chairman of the Transport Select Committee, Hugh Merriman, revealed today, passengers are being ripped off with expensive PCR tests. We are told this is justified to sequence for variants, but only 5% of tests are. This barrier to affordable travel needs to stop now. He's completely right. There should be no compulsory PCR tests from green and amber list countries. But let's end with the best news of the day. More amazing figures on antibodies released by the Office for National Statistics. And this means something. You won't hear about it much because it's good news. In England, 93.6% of over 16s tested positive for COVID antibodies. It was 93.2% in Wales, 90.7% in Northern Ireland, and 92.5% in Scotland.